What up, world? I have a story I want to share with you today, and it's called The Breadcrumbs of Desire. Now, three men were lost and starving in the woods. Hoping to come across something to eat, they stumbled onto a path covered in crows. The crows scattered and landed on a nearby sign. The men were shocked to discover that the crows had apparently been eating loaves of bread because there were breadcrumbs everywhere. Now, these breadcrumbs weren't big enough to pick up and eat, but what they did do is give the men hope that maybe it was some type of food truck along this path that these loaves of bread fell off of. And if they could find that food truck, not only would they be able to have a meal, but they could find their way out of the woods. So they started up the path. Shockingly, it seemed like the breadcrumbs were getting bigger the further they went up the path. And sure enough, the further they walked, the bigger the crumbs got. They made it up to the point where the breadcrumbs had transformed into half slices of bread. One of the men crashed to his knees, exhausted and starving. He exclaimed, "I can't go any further. These half slices of bread will have to do for me." The other men pleaded with him and was like, "Come on. If these breadcrumbs have gotten this big, it's no telling what's further up this path." He waved them off and repeated himself, "These half slices will have to do." So two men continued up the path, and they made it up to the point to where the breadcrumbs had transformed into 4 slices of bread. And one more man crashed to his knees and exclaimed, "I can't go any further. These 4 slices of bread will have to do for me." The man who was still on his feet pleaded with him, "Come on. If these breadcrumbs have transformed into 4 slices, it's no telling what's at the end of this path." But the man waved him off and repeated himself, "These 4 slices will have to do for me." So the last man continued as far as his legs would take him. He made it to the end of the path. By the time he made it there, he was crawling and dragging his body. But when he looked up, he discovered that those breadcrumbs had transformed into an entire loaf of bread. And beside that loaf of bread was a sign, much like the sign that was at the front of the path. And the sign read, "Breadcrumbs of desire. What you partake in shall be your portion for life." So what does that mean? How does that pertain to us? Well, the two men that didn't make it all the way to the end of the path represent those of us who follow our desires to a certain point and we become content. We say, "I think I'm making enough money. I don't want to push it. I don't want to risk it too much. I'm good right here." And the man who made it to the end of the path represents the 1%ers, those who follow their desires all the way to the end and realize that God had abundance for them. You see, one of my favorite speeches is from Denzel Washington, and he says, "True desire in the heart is proof sent beforehand to indicate that what you desire is already yours." You see, you have to follow our desires to the end. We can't ignore them. We have to push and push until we can't push anymore, because they truly are like breadcrumbs leading us to a purpose that we have no idea that we're here to serve. So trust your desires, follow them, and they will lead you to your filling portion. You got to figure out which part you want to play. Whether you want half slices, 4 slices, or your whole loaf. Oh, and as for me, I represent the sign. This is gaining value, giving the self-worth. Like, comment, subscribe, share it well. I'll holla.